Welcome to the personal Tanya. Today is the 9th day of Shvat, and we are learning about the fact that the world is one with God. Each time we've learned this idea that we're developing in the Tanya is that since the world is one with God, each time we do a mitzvah, we're connecting, and each time we do a sin, we're disconnecting. Hence, each sin is idolatrous. And therefore, each sin unleashes the powerful hidden love that is natural to our godly souls. What's happening in our evolution through the study of Tanya is that we're redefining our perceptions of reality in order to channel this natural love, which is revealed when we are faced with a test of idolatry. We are doing this in order to empower us to reach the self-mastery of the Beinoni, of the Jew that struggles to be able to manage and master our thoughts, speech, and action, which is the status of the Beinoni. As we develop this idea in today's Tanya, chapter 22, the Alter Rebbe dives a little deeper into the metaphor of God's speech when the Torah tells us that the world is created through God's speech. We said that this metaphor of speech incorporates the fact that speech reveals what was previously concealed, but speech also separates from the speaker. And we said in the previous chapters that only that first point applies to God's speech, not the second. God's speech reveals that which was concealed, the energy concealed within him, but you cannot possibly say that God's speech separates from God, because nothing exists outside of God, and hence the energy that God puts into creation of the world, the speech of God which creates the world, is not separate from God. In fact, it's part of God. So if the energy that creates us is a part of God, then certainly the world that is created by that is also a part of God. Nevertheless, Alter Rebbe makes a very interesting observation. He says that since nonetheless the Torah does employ the metaphor of speech, it means that to some degree there is an element of separation at play. In this chapter, the Alter Rebbe teaches us that from our perspective, indeed, God's speech does separate from himself. From our vantage point, from the vantage point of the creations, when we're looking up, we say, we feel separate from God. But from God's point of view, which is the true point of view, the world is in fact one with God. And hence, this world is really like a one-way mirror. When you look at a one-way mirror from the inside, you see straight through the window. But when you're looking at the one-way mirror from the outside, you don't see inside, you only see yourself. So from God's perspective, he sees straight through the window. There is no blockage. From our perspective on the outside, we see not God. We don't see inside. We see only ourselves. There are two perceptions of reality constantly at play. Why would God do this? The Alter Rebbe explains to us today in a beautiful way. The reason why God created a possibility for a false perception of reality, for the one-way mirror way of looking at things, to see not God, not inside, but to see the mirror, to see ourselves. The reason why God created the doubters and the haters and the atheists and the agnostics and the entire world's view that says that this world is separate from God's oneness, they're placed here in order for us to be able to have freedom of choice. God gave us two tracks, two possibilities, two perceptions of reality, one which is true and one which is false, one which sees from the inside of the one-way mirror and one which sees from the outside of the one-way mirror, so that we would be able to have the freedom of choice to be able to earn reward and, God forbid, punishment when we choose the right or when we choose the wrong. See, I've put before you, says God, life and death, the blessing and the curse, and I urge you, says God, to choose life. It turns out that in this world there are main actors and there are supporting actors. The main actors are us, the people with freedom of choice who are called upon to choose the right thing. You and I are the main actors of this world. But everyone else, the doubters, the haters, and the people that are atheists and agnostics who don't believe, who don't see that there is a God, who see not God but to see their ego, who see the mirror in the one-way mirror as opposed to seeing through the one-way mirror. The reason they are here is not because they're main actors, but because they are supporting actors. They're here to set the scene for us. They are the props on the stage. And that's why in Kabbalah they're called Achoraim, which means an afterthought. They're not the true intention. We are the panim. We are the one about whom is the purpose and the actual intention, because God wants us to have free choice so we can choose the right thing. But the guys that make the wrong, the guys that are seeing the one way, the wrong perception of reality, they are achoraim. They are the afterthought, because they are there only in order to allow us to set the stage, to be the props, to be the supporting actors, so that the main actors can do what they need to do. In other words, God deliberately hides himself behind the one-way mirror so that we will have freedom of choice. And the props that enable this, they're called achoraim. In tomorrow's discussion, we'll be tying it all together with a deeper understanding of what idolatry is all about and how idolatry ties into God's unity and God's oneness and these two perceptions of reality, to realize that the second perception, which sees the mirror, is essentially idolatry, so that we can channel the hidden love into our daily experiences and our small day-to-day choices. For today, that's a wrap. Let's try to apply. You can do this.